Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nanda gopa kumaraya govindaya namo namah. Hare Krishna. So last week we concluded second canto. So now we have completed canto 1 and canto 2. So that is total of 29 chapters. And we also had 2 overview sessions for each canto. So roughly 31 sessions we have done. So we are very thankful to the Supreme Lord, to Srila Prabhupada, that we have gotten so far. Let's pray that our health stay fit and we can continue this process, because this is the only process in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Okay? So we will start with third canto today. Let me share with you what is how the third canto looks like, and then you can see my screen. So that so canto 3 is titled The Status Quo, and there are 33 chapters in canto 3. So hopefully by this time next year, let's be realistic, yeah, because we started November last year. End of November we did first session with breaks and everything. So on an average we're doing 32, 33. End of November we will have done 33 or 34 sessions, maybe 35 at the max out of 52 weeks. So with 35 it's 10 years. Yes. See? Yeah, 2031. So 30 canto 3 has 33 chapters. So just to memorize, so you can remember 3 and 3, 33. Yeah. So in this there are 5 parts. The whole canto is divided into 5 sections. The first section is meeting of Uddhav and Vidura. Then the second is Sarg and Visarg. So Sarg, you know, again we will go through the primary creation, Virat Roop. We'll discuss that once again. And Visarg is secondary creation by Brahmaji. There is only 1 chapter on that. And then Bhagavan Varaha appears. Varaha incarnation, everybody knows Varaha incarnation? Yes? Okay, you will see. Varaha, when he's holding the earth on his tusk. So there are 7 chapters dedicated to Lord Varaha pastime. That's when Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh, they are born. The pregnancy of Mata Diti. So that is also there. Then Kardam Rishi. Kardam Rishi, household life. Then there is talks about that. Kardam Rishi, who is son of Brahmaji. Because when the secondary creation happens, then Brahmaji has his mind-born children, sons, 10 sons. Out of 10th is Narad Rishi. So who is brahmachari all the time, but other 9 they marry, and that's how the progeny, and they're called Prajapati, and that's how we are descendant of that, in that lineage, you can say. And Sanat Kumar, Sanat Kumar, they are Brahmajis, yes. They are actually first. After that, okay, they refused, as you know. That will also be there. We'll discuss that also. So that will be in the part B. Then pastime of Lord Vara. Then Kardam Rishi, who is Brahmaji's son. And it is very interesting pastime. So Lord Brahma asked Kardam Rishi to do austerity and then get married. So there is nothing wrong with the grust, being grust or getting married. In fact, we will see when their lordship appears after he performs austerity, and lordship says कि कोई वर मांगो, तो वर क्या मांगते हैं कि मुझको एक पत्नी मिल जाए, समान शीलाम गृह मेद धेनु तथा सो चाहूं, मैं भी वही चाहता हूं कि मेरे समान शील वाली मुझको कोई पत्नी मिल जाए. देखिए, but we will discuss when we get to that. So very interesting. And then his household life, how before marriage he is performing austerity, after marriage he is performing austerity, and then many years he performed austerity, tapasya, and then Mata Devhuti, then they had children. Yeah? So that is part D. And then finally, very interesting, teachings of Lord Kapil to Mata Devhuti. Bhagwan Kapil, who is born to Mother Devhuti as son, right? And very interestingly, when Kardam Rishi got darshan of Supreme Lord told him, I will incarnate, I will become your son. He is not even married. He doesn't even know who is the girl will be. And then Supreme Lord says, I will appear as your son. And then Supreme Lord appeared as Bhagwan Kapil to Mother Devhuti. Yeah? So we'll discuss that. So that's pretty much it. There is a typing mistake here. So it goes from 25 to 33. So the chapters, if you haven't noticed. But anyway, so that's third canto. So let's get to canto. Now the first part, I said 4. So in the first part, what is it? Meeting of Vidura and Udhavji. Right? I hope this type of structuring is helping. We are able to mind map. We are able to remember these chapters. What is, section wise? It helps us. Otherwise, if we read, then we can't. Yeah? So that is the whole idea. So the first section, the 4 chapters, the meeting of Udhav and Vidurji. So in that, there are 4 chapters there. So as you can see, so the first chapter that we'll discuss today, study today, is being insulted by Duryodhana. Vidur gives up his house, goes for pilgrimage, meets Udhav, and inquires from him about Krishna, Yadus, and Kurus. Yeah. So very interesting discussion, this one. And then from chapter 2 to 4, Udhavji remembers about Krishna's pastime, and then he tells Vidurji, because before Lord Krishna went back to his abode, he had spoken to Udhav. So we will discuss that also. So Udhavji gives all the information to Vidurji, and then Udhav tells Vidurji that you go and meet Maitreya Rishi. Yes, Mataji. Udhav Bhagwan Krishna के cousin है, first cousin. हाँ, cousin brother. एकदम कृष्ण, looks exactly like Krishna. ऐसे ही दिखते हैं. और भगवान कृष्ण खुद कहते हैं, उद्धव न अणुअपि मद न्यूनम. वो मुझसे इतना भी इंफीरियर नहीं. He is exactly like me. भगवान कृष्ण ने कहा. Hare Krishna. So there is very interesting conversation. Yeah. And Uddhavji is a disciple of Brahaspati. We will discuss that also. Uddhavji is about Uddhavji in the second chapter. We'll discuss that. And Uddhavji then asks Vidur to go and meet Maitreya Rishi for enlightenment. And then Vidur meets Maitreya at Haridwar. So we'll discuss. So this is the first 4 chapters, just so we understand what we're going to cover. Then we will cover today, which is section 3.1, questions by Vidur. But before that, let's take a verse and then we will go through that. Just so we get the context in this chapter. Now Vidurji is meeting Uddhavji. He is asking him some questions, and after he has asked some questions, now he is concluding. So this verse, he is concluding that series of questions that he has asked, right? And the point that I'm trying to highlight is in what mood he is asking the questions. Take for example, हम लोग सारा we meet and we discuss weather ऐसा चल रहा है, अमेरिका में इतना वायलेंस हो रहा है, यूक्रेन में इतना वॉर हो रहा है, इंडिया में ऐसा हो रहा है. Then finally we say, चलो छोड़ो, सब भगवान करने वाले हैं. Let's go and worship the Supreme Lord. So that is the kind of conversation. After speaking about all the Kuru dynasty, how Kauravas were killed, how the war happened, finally now Vidurji concludes. So this is that form. So please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Soham Harirmar Tavidambanena. Oh, now you see that? Soham Harirmar Tavidambanena. Still? So, okay. Soham Harirmar Tavidambanena.
Soham Harirmar Tavidambanena.
Trisho Nirnam Chalayato Vidhatu. Nanopalaksha Padavim Prasada. Charami Pashyan Gat Vismayotra. Charami Pashyan Gat Vismayotra. Word by word translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Please repeat. Sa aham. Therefore I. Hare. Of the personality of Godhead. Martya. In this mortal world. Vidambanena. Without being recognized. Trisha. On sight. Nirnam. Of the people in general. Chalayata. Bewildering. With dhatu. In order to do it. Na. Not. Anya. Other. Upalakshaya. Seen by others. Padvim. Glories. Prasadat. By the grace of. Charami. Do travel. Pashyan. By seeing. Gata Vismaya. Without doubt. Atra. In this matter. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Please repeat. I am not astonished at this,
I am not astonished at this.
Having traveled over the world
Having traveled over the world
without being seen by others,
without being seen by others,
the activities of the
the activities of the
personality of Godhead,
personality of Godhead,
which are like
which are like
those of a man
those of man
in this mortal world,
in this mortal world,
are bewildering
are bewildering
to others.
to others.
But I know of his greatness
But I know of his greatness
by his grace.
by his grace.
Yeah, very important. I know of his greatness by his grace. You can only know Krishna when he is merciful to you and when he wants you to. And for you to know him, you have to desire. That is the only solution. No other way. There is no other way to know. Okay? राम ही केवल प्रेम प्यारा, जान ले ही सो जाना निहार. अगर कोई जानना चाहता है राम को कैसे जानना है, तो राम को सिर्फ प्रेम प्यारा है, जान लीजिए. And thus I am happy in all respects.
And others are happy in all respects.
So Vidurji, after hearing about all the Kauravas, how they died, in the battle happened, the Yadu dynasty got destroyed, they were fighting among themselves. So this is his conclusion. He says, I am not astonished at this. I've traveled over the world without being seen by others. But the activities of the Supreme Lord cannot be, they can be bewildering. But I know of his greatness by his grace. When he is merciful to you, he will let you know. Until then, you just keep chanting. Purport, please hear the purport. Although he was the brother of Dhritarashtra, Vidura was completely different. By the grace of Lord Krishna, he was not foolish like his brother, and thus his brother's association could not influence him. Dhritarashtra and his materialistic sons wanted to falsely lord it over the world by dint of their own strength. The Lord encouraged them in this, and thus they became more and more bewildered. But Vidura wanted to achieve sincere devotional service of the Lord, and therefore became a soul absolutely surrendered to the absolute personality of Godhead. He could realize this in the progress of his pilgrim's journey, and thus he was freed from all doubts. He was not at all sorry to be bereft of his earth and home, because he now had experienced that dependence on the mercy of the Lord is a greater freedom than so-called freedom at home. A person should not be in the renounced order of life unless he is firmly convinced of being protected by the Lord. This stage of life is explained in Bhagavad Gita as Abhyam Sattva Samshuddhi. Every living entity is factually completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, but unless one is in the pure state of existence, he cannot be established in this position. The stage of dependence is called Sattva Samshuddhi. Yeah. Sam means Samyak. Nicely. Samyak Rupan. Everything very perfectly done. Shuddhi. So you are perfectly cleansed and you are in the Sattva mode. Mode of goodness. So that's the purification of one's existence. Exactly. The result of such purification is exhibited in fearlessness. You become fearless. Not fearless to jump from the 4th floor of the building. Fearless as in these troubles of life, they don't bewilder you, right? You just seek hand of Krishna in everything. That is fearlessness. A devotee of the Lord who is called Narayan Para is never afraid of anything, because he is always aware of the fact that the Lord protects him in all circumstances. With this conviction, Vidura traveled alone, and he was not seen or recognized by any friend or foe. Thus, he enjoyed freedom of life without obligation to many duties of the world. When Lord Krishna was personally present in the mortal world in his eternal blissful form of Shyam Sundar, those who were not pure devotees of the Lord could not recognize him or know his glories. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam. Yeah, he is always bewildering to the non-devotees, but he is always seen by the devotees by dint of their pure devotional service. Srila Bhaktivedanta purports ki? Okay, let's do Mangalacharan and then we will discuss. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सावधेतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता श्रीराधा कान्ता नमस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे भूतेर्महद्भिर्यैमा पुरो विभो निर्माय शेते यदमूष पुरुषा भुङ्क्ते गुणांशो दश षोडशात्मकम् सोऽलङ्कसृष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे श्रीकृष्ण शरणागतम् कथा अमृतम् सतत पीबतम् भक्ति वेदांत मार्ग पंथनम सर्वलोक ऋषिदे जन्म प्रसन्नम सर्वलोक ऋषिदेव जन्म प्रसन्नम। Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. May that Supreme Lord please decorate my tongue so that may the right words come at the right time and we are truly able to glorify the Supreme Lord and serve Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj and all the devotees. So, in the first canto, 13th chapter, you may recall, Vidurji came back. You remember? Vidurji came back and then the chapter is titled, Dhritarashtra quits the home. So, Vidurji had gone on a pilgrimage. So, there was a slight discussion about it. So, at the end of the second chapter, now, Shaunakadi Rishi and Parikshit Maharaj, they asked a question to Shukdev. Parikshit Maharaj asked to Shukdev Goswami and Shaunakadi Rishi asked to Sud Goswami. So the question that they were asking was that Yad Ahano Sut Shatta Bhagavato Uttama. Jo Shatta is in Vidurji. He was the Uttam. He was the topmost of Bhagavatam. And Bhagavat means who's the devotee of the Lord. Right? Who knows about the Bhagavan, who knows about the Supreme Lord, and who is the topmost devotee of the Lord, who is a surrendered devotee of the Lord. So you said that Vidurji, he was the topmost devotee of the Lord, but Chachar Tirthani Bhuvas. But he went around for a pilgrimage to all the tirth, all the places of pilgrimage, tyaktva bandhun dustyajan. He left his house, he left his home, which is very difficult to leave. But how did he go? What did he do? So that was a question asked. And in the 13th chapter, there Sud Goswami or Shukdev Sud Goswami had given a brief introduction about Vidurji. He said, Viduras Tirth Yatrayam Maitreya Yad Atmanogatim Gnatva Agad Hastinapuram Taya Avapta Vivitsita. So he says, Vidurji, when he had gone for the Tirth Yatra, he met Maitreya Rishi. And Maitreya Ji said, what did he learn? Atmanogatim. The journey of the soul or the journey of the living entity. He heard that in the 13th chapter, you had said about him that he had learned that, and then he came back to Hastinapur, right? Apto Vivitsita, and he was fully satisfied. And why he was fully satisfied? He says, because he had asked the questions. Yavata Prashnan, all the questions that he had asked from Maitreya Rishi. He had asked the questions from Maitreya Rishi, and by asking those questions, what did he develop? Jataik Bhaktir Govinde. He developed the devotional service to the Govinda, to the Supreme Lord Govinda, after getting his prashnan, after getting his questions answered. See, the point is now, if you are asking a question to anyone, what is the objective? You ask the question to develop the devotional service to the Lord. You don't ask any useless questions. I've given you an example earlier also. Once Srila Prabhupada was in America and he was addressing the students of a university. And then suddenly one student stood up and he asked Prabhupada, what is this that you are wearing? And then Prabhupada asked him back. He was wearing a tie or something. Prabhupada said, what is it that you are wearing? And then he said to Prabhupada, what kind of answer is this? You are answering my question with a question. Then Prabhupada said, what kind of question you are asking? A sadhu has come. You should be asking some meaningful questions. You should be inquiring about why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? Where am I going to go? I tell you a real example. I was talking to one Mataji. She's a devotee. She's now in her late 80s. She could drive. But I just spoke to her a few days ago. And now Mataji is saying, Prabhu, I'm selling my car. I'm selling my car. I don't think I can drive anymore. She's single, widow. So she's going to stop driving. After that, after the conversation, I was thinking about it. She said, Prabhu, I'm going to stop driving now. And I don't feel like going out also. Right? I'm going to stay home. Whenever there is any opportunity, I will go to temple. I said, Mataji, please call me whenever you need any help. We will come, we'll take you to the temple. We'll help you out. But the concern is now, after that, I was thinking and I was saying, one day my state will also be like that. You will stop going, you would not want to go out. So Prabhuji, Mataji, if we are in any kind of illusion, so that is the whole purpose of this association. The whole purpose of all the activities should be dovetailed on how to serve Krishna. All the question answers, all the inquiries should be made. How I can serve Krishna, how I can connect with Krishna. Because one day we will be bedridden. One day we will be, we will be going through all of this process. So that is the whole purpose. There is something called sadhuvad. There is something called shastravad. And there is something called bhakvad. You know where the word bhakvad has come from? Bagula. When they do, once my Guru was saying, once there was these owls. They were sitting on a tree. And they were sitting on a tree and a swan flew and he sat on that tree. As he sat on the tree, then all the owls, they started, they started making that sound. And they asked him, who are you? He said, I am a swan. He said, you are a swan? What kind of living entity are you? And they said, why are you staying here? He said, because it is dark. When the sun rises, I will be flying. And the owl said, what is sun? Is there any sun? What kind of sun are you talking about? Because they hadn't seen the sun at all. And they were challenging him. They were challenging the swan. And then they challenged him and they were making fun of him. They were making joke of him. But in the end, the sun rose and these owls went back to sleep and the swan flew away. So the point is, we have to be very careful. As long as there is a strength in the body, we think we can do everything. We are independent, so much. And that whole thing was playing in my mind as to what is going to happen. There was another example. I heard somebody, he was diagnosed with cancer. So the point is that if we have any % of ahankar, we should put ourselves in that position, that this is going to happen to me tomorrow. Krishna willing, it should not happen, but with that mood. My Guru Maharaj says, Bhagwan ne old age isliye rakhi hai ki ab to kam se kam mera bhajan karega. At least now he will start praying to me, that now he cannot move. He is totally, he cannot freely roam around. So that's what the conversation between Vidur and Maitreya ji. Jataik bhaktir govinde. Te abhyascha upararamah. When he developed the devotional service to Bhagwan Govinda, then Vidurji chup ho gaye. Upraramah. Then he gave full stop to his queries and he decided to go back to Hastinapur. And then he realized that I have a brother there. I have to go back and liberate him. He was still thinking of Dhritarashtra. So here, Shaunakadi Rishi, Parikshit Maharaj, they asked this question, and in this chapter, the chapter is titled Questions by Vidurji. So Vidurji is going to ask questions to Udhavji. Okay? So how the chapter begins. Now initially, Vidurji, Shukdev Goswami starts speaking, and he says that the house of Vidurji. He says these questions were asked by Parikshit Maharaj, but it's the house of Vidurji. Lord Krishna felt his house or the house of Pandavas. There are two separate translations. So when Lord Krishna went as a Shantidut, when Lord Krishna went as a Shantidut to Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, at that time, Lord Krishna felt so much close to Vidur's house that Duryodhana was asking him to go to his house, but he did not go to his house. Instead, he went to Vidurji's house. And also in another translation, it is said that actually Lord Krishna used to frequently visit the house of Pandavas as if that is his own house. You all have experience at some places, some friend's place you go and you feel so comfortable. You want to go back again. Take, for example, your grandparents. You say, I always like to go to my Nani's house. I had a friend who told me, हमको तो बचपन से ये सिखाया गया कि नानी का घर अच्छा है, दादी का घर अच्छा नहीं. So he was always like, नानी का घर अच्छा है. So, but the point is, you have special feeling, right? You all want to go to one place or one of your favorite friend. You always want to, you can never finish talking to them, right? So that is the kind of relationship Lord Krishna had with the Pandavas. Lord Krishna will consider their house his own house. He will walk into their house anytime. And in this instance, when he went there, Duryodhana offered him to come to his house. Duryodhana ko meva tyago, sag vidur ghar khaye. So he decided to go to Vidurji's house. So that's what happened. Now, Maitreya Rishi and so Vidurji meets Udhavji, and I'll come back to how that meeting happened. So he meets Udhavji and then he asks him a question, right? So Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukdev Goswami what kind of questions were asked. First of all, he said, where did they meet? And what kind of questions were asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukdev Goswami? Please tell me. And I feel because they are both of them so exalted devotees, the kind of questions that were asked by Vidurji, they must be worth listening to the question. No gossip. No, this is called Sadhuvad. Sadhuvad, Shastravad, and Bhakvad. Right? So what we want to do. So he said, that's Sadhuvad because two saints were speaking. Please tell me, what did they speak about? And then Shukdev Goswami felt very happy and he started speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. So Sud Goswami is now, so just understand, not to confuse. So this conversation is between Sud Goswami and Shaunaka Rishi, and Sud Goswami was sitting in that assembly when Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was spoken by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So he's narrating the same. So what we are reading is, what we are reading from is that was spoken by Sud Goswami to Shaunaka Rishi. So Sud Goswami says, Shuk Uvacha, what the Shukdev Goswami is saying. So Shukdev Goswami then tells that at that time, then Vidurji, he was living in Hastinapur and he was a minister of Dhritarashtra. Yeah? And then he says that in the early age, when Pandavas lost their father, they came back and Dhritarashtra did not give them their rightful share. He did not give them their rightful share because Vinasht Drishti, his Drishti, remember we discussed last time, jo eyes hain, one is the gross eyes and one is the real eyes. So that Drishti was destroyed because he was too much attached to his son. And then instead of giving them their share, he tried to kill them. Yeah. Laksha Bhavan Dadah. He created that house of wax and he tried to put them on fire, kill them. He did that. And then he goes on to say that happened. And then in the assembly where all the Kauravas and Pandavas were there, he did not say anything. Dhritarashtra, or in that assembly, Mother Draupadi, she was dragged by her hairs by Dushasana. When Dushasana did that bad activity, sinful activity, even then Dhritarashtra did not speak anything. He was just quiet. Not just that, he says after that, they were invited for the gambling. As they were invited for the game of gambling, then in that gambling, they were cheated by Duryodhan and Shakuni. And by cheating, they lost. They made Yudhishthira and the Pandavas lose. They lost and then they were sent to the forest. So they were given 12 years in the forest and last year would be incognito, agyatwas. Nobody should be able to recognize you. And when they went through all of that, they came back. And when they came back, they were asking for their rightful share now. They were refused. As they were refused, then Pandavas, they got together and they requested Lord Shri Krishna to be their messenger. And Lord Krishna came as their messenger. When Lord Krishna came as their messenger, he made a proposal. As we all know, what did he request? He requests just the 5 villages. 5 villages? Yeah? Because Kshatriya, they have to rule. So one brother can rule 1 village. That is their karma. Svabhav. That is their natural nature. So even that was refused. They did not give them 5 villages, then that was also refused. When that was also refused, then Shri Krishna, when he came, and then Dhritarashtra invited Vidura. Dhritarashtra invited Vidura to take his opinion. When Dhritarashtra invited Vidura to take his opinion, Vidura then spoke to Dhritarashtra, and Vidura told him that, my dear king, they are rightful owners of this kingdom. You have already cheated them. You have already taken over their kingdom. You are only a caretaker king. So you should give their kingdom back to them because they are the rightful owners. And then Dhritarashtra kept refusing. And then Dhritarashtra told him, and then also it is said that Vidura tried to tell Dhritarashtra that, look, Yudhishthira Maharaj is supported by, he has Arjun, who is so powerful. Not just Arjun, Bhim is also there. And Bhim is so angry, right? He is fuming like a snake. And you won't be spared. And moreover, Lord Krishna is with the Pandavas all the time. Lord Krishna thinks, he specially mentioned Parthastu, right? As the sons of Pritha. and also Bhagwan Parthasarathi, right? So he says that these Pandavas, they are completely dependent on Krishna. And Krishna has also accepted them as their own. And Lord Krishna and the Yadavas, they are now ruling the universe. Because what used to happen is, then they would go and conquer a state, and then they will get married to that, the princess. And when getting married, then they become relationship, alliances. So he said the whole universe has been conquered by Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna is happily staying, in Dwarka with his, Yadu, his cousins and his family. So you should be beware of that. So you should please give it to them. And then Dhritarashtra says, what if Duryodhan doesn't agree? He says, Duryodhan doesn't agree, throw him out. So he says, Sa Esh Dosh. Yes. He is the Dosh personified. Duryodhan. Purusha Dvidaste, who is envious of the Supreme Personality of God. He has entered your house. Grihan Praviste, Yamapatya Matya. You think your son can save you? You think he can save you? He has entered your house as a sin personified. Pushnesu, and he's getting more strength in the negative sense, right? By staying here. And Krishna Vimukh Gatashriya, because he is opposed to Lord Krishna, your opulence will go down. Gatashriya. Right? So he says, Tyajashva Ashaivam Kul Kaushalaya. He is Ashav, inauspicious. Shiv means auspicious. When we say Lord Shiva, it means auspiciousness. So he says he's inauspiciousness to your kingdom. Get rid of him. Kul Kaushalaya. If you want to save your Kul, the dynasty, get rid of him. And as Vidurji said that, this is Vidur Niti. Actually, it is said Vidur Niti is the mother of Chanakya Niti. Chanakya Niti has come from Vidur Niti. So Vidur spoke the truth. Truth must be spoken. It is said that when Ravan went to Marich, and Ravan requested Marich that you please change, yourself, and I want to kidnap Mother Sita. Then Marich sort of teased him, and Marich had to laugh. Marich said, Jagdamba, Jagjanani, Mother Sita, you want to kidnap her? Right? And then Marich tried to speak to him. But then Ravan said, when a king comes, if he is requesting, that means he is ordering. You should accept that. And then Marich makes a statement there. Valmiki ji writes in the Valmiki Ramayana. So Marich says that Purusha Bahavo Rajan Satatam Priya Vadina. Because he had come from Lanka. So nobody in Lanka told you? Nobody told you what happened to Karan Dushan? None of your ministers advise you that what are you going to do? So then he says, Purusha Bahavo Rajan Satatam Priya Vadina. There are so many Purush, there are so many living or so-called friends who will Priya Vadina. They will try to speak sweet words to you. Satatam. They will just try to speak sweet words to you. But he says, Satyam cha apathyas. Truth and complete truth, not half truth. Yeah, Satyam cha apathyas cha, yeah, Shrota Vakta Durlam. The speaker is difficult to find, and the listener is also difficult to find. Because he was speaking truth. He was speaking truth, and then Ravan did not like it. And then Marich decided it is going to be death anyway. So I might as well accept to be killed by Lord Ram. So he accepted that. So Vidurji was like that. So he spoke truth. And as Vidurji said that, Duryodhan was listening. Duryodhan was listening. With him, Karna was there. Shakuni was there. They were all listening. And as Duryodhan heard that, he stormed into that room. And then he started speaking bad words to Vidurji. He says, Ye Dasiputra, son of a kept mistress. Dasya Sutta. Yeah. Dasya Sutta Balinev He is getting strength from us only. You know, he is sustaining on the food provided by us, shelter provided by us, and see what he is doing. He is favoring the enemy. He is like a spy in our own house. Throw him out. This is how Duryodhana spoke. And as Vidurji heard that, Vidurji did not give any reaction. And Dhritarashtra did not speak a single word. When Dhritarashtra did not speak a single word, Vidurji went on the door and he put his bow on the door and he left. And he left and he went for a pilgrimage. So here Prabhupada in the purport says that the external energy was acting on Duryodhana. Remember we discussed two energies, Mahamaya and Yogamaya. Right? So this external energy, what we see, this is Mahamaya, external potential. And what is the internal potential is the Yogamaya. Yeah? Mahatmanastu mam partha. Yeah? Bhagavan Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanastu mam partha, devim prakritim ashrita. Mahatmas, the yogis, the devotees, they are dependent on the Yogamaya, the internal potential of the Supreme Lord. Whereas others, we depend on the external potential. These materialistic, house, relation, all these things, we rely on them. We think my brother will save, my wife will save, my husband will save me. No. Yes? Yeah. What is that famous verse? Pashvohi goste. Yeah. When we leave, the animals will be staying in the ghost, where the, what is it called? English, what is the word? Barn, yes. Pashvohi goste. They will stay in the barn. Yeah. Nari grahdwari. Sakha samshane. The wife will only come to the door. Sakha samshane. My friends will take me to the, samshan. Or where the crematorium. Right? But this, on this mark, on this dharma, yeah, dharma nugo gacchati jiva eka. Right? On this mark, the jivatma, we have to go alone. Nothing else goes with us. Yeah. So, yeah. So Vidurji understood that fact. And then he left that place. He left that place. He put his bow on the door and he left. So he thought the internal energy was acting on him and the external energy was acting on Duryodhana. And he thought of it as an opportunity to get out of all this materialistic association and go on a pilgrimage. Now, another important point highlighted by Acharyas is that Vidura, at that time, Lord Krishna was here on this earth. He could have gone to Lord Krishna, but he did not go to Lord Krishna. He was so meek and humble, he thought that with my association or having associated with Dhritarashtra and all these peoples, maybe I've accumulated some sins. I should first go and purify myself. I should first go and purify my existence, and then Krishna will accept. Very nice mood to inculcate about it. Sometimes we just say, Krishna is there, but it's good to be dependent, but at the same time, that is good. So Vidurji took it as an opportunity and he went on a pilgrimage. He went on a pilgrimage, he went around the earth, as in at that time, if you visualize, Hastinapur is Delhi, if you are familiar with, the geography. So from Delhi, he went and then he went around, you can say the east, and then as he was going down south, he came up and then he came in the Prabhas Kshetra. Prabhas Kshetra is in Gujarat. So he came to Prabhas Kshetra and there he found out that all the Yadu dynasty, and he found out about the Mahabharat war also, that in the Mahabharat war, all of them have died. All the Kauravas have been killed. He found out about it and that only Dhritarashtra is left. And he also found out about the Yadus also having, in that fight, they killed each other. He found all of that. And then from Prabhas Kshetra, he went to the Saraswati. He went towards west. And when he reached on the bank of Saraswati River, Mother Saraswati. So there are three main rivers that we worship, or Ganga, Jamuna, and Saraswati. Gangaji represents devotion. Yamunaji represents karma, and Mother Saraswati, you can say the knowledge. We worship Mother Saraswati. So he went near on the banks of Mother Saraswati. He offered his prayers there, and there are also there are also pilgrimage on the banks of Mother Saraswati. He performed his puja there on the bank of Mother Saraswati, and then from there he started walking on the north side. As he was walking towards the north side, he came on the bank of Yamuna River. He came on the bank of Yamuna River, and there he met Uddhavji. Now, how Uddhavji got to bank of Yamuna River? Before Lord Krishna was to go back to his abode, on the bank of Saraswati, that's where Uddhavji and Lord Krishna were there. Krishna told Uddhavji that I'm going to go back, but actually this will be in the second chapter. And Uddhav requested that, may I come with you? Lord Krishna instructed him, no, you stay here. And as they were talking, Maitreji also walked. See, these two were talking, Krishna and Uddhav, and Maitreji also walked there. And then Maitreya also got to hear the conversation between Lord Krishna and Uddhavji. And then from there, Lord Krishna went back to his abode, and he instructed Uddhavji, you go and you perform austerity in Badrinath. And Maitreji was instructed that you go to Haridwar. So Maitreji went to Haridwar, Uddhavji was on his way to Badrinath. So as you can imagine geography, so from Saraswati, which is in Gujarat, then he was coming up, on the Yamuna, which is in the UP, Uttar Pradesh, if you look at it geography-wise, as he was going north. So that's where Uddhavji and Vidurji met. Uddhavji, basically you can say Vidurji followed them. Vidurji came to Saraswati, and they had already been on the bank of Saraswati. So they came there, and then Uddhavji and Vidurji met there. And as they meet there, now Shukdev Goswami he describes their meeting. So he says that Uddhavji, Savasudeva Nucharam Prashantam. That Uddhavji, he was Vasudev's Anuchar. He was a follower of Vasudev, Bhagavan Vasudev. Prashantam, he was always peaceful. Right? He was very calmly situated. And when they meet, so he says, Alingya Gadham, Pranayena Bhadram, Alingya Gadham. Then they embraced each other. Vidurji embraced Uddhavji, right? Pranayena, with love, right? They embraced each other. Uddhavji was cousin of Lord Krishna. So Vidurji was like his father, right? So Vidurji had great respect for Uddhavji, and similarly Uddhavji had a great respect for Vidurji. So they embraced each other, and then Vidurji started asking questions. Swanam Prichad Bhagavat Prajanam. Swanam, he asked about Swajan, as in, their own family members. He asked about the Supreme Lord, and he asked about the Praja, all the citizens of both the cities. Now, you might say that when Vidura had already found out when he was on the bank of Saraswati River that they had been killed, then why is he asking again? Right? Why is he asking? So Śrīpad Jiva Goswami in his commentary, he says that even though he knew that had happened, but he was still curious. Sometimes you think something has happened, and you feel, nahi, aisa nahi hua hai. Somebody should prove me wrong, right? So he was still keen to ask. So Vidurji then asked from Uddhavji that what has happened. And then as he asking the questions, now he asks a series of questions, and how he asks the questions. So he first starts asking about what happened. Are those brothers, right? He addressed Lord Krishna and Balaram. He says, are they faring well? They appeared on the request of Brahmaji. How are they doing? So this is the mood when we meet each other. When we meet each other, we ask, how are your deities? How's Lord Jagannath? How's Laddu Gopal? So what that does is, Prabhuji Mataji, we straight away get connected to the Supreme Lord. We straight away start getting their mercy. Sometimes some people might say, what kind of question is this? So-called advanced people might not like it. क्या बात कर रहे हो यार, भगवान की क्या हाल है, कोई बात है? Some people might say like that, but no. Remember, I've already shared with you, that 85-year-old. Now you ask them. They have nothing to talk about. All they are now, basically, they're preparing to leave, right? They are waiting for the time to come just so that they can leave this body. At one point, they will get frustrated with their own body. और वो तो क्या है कि आपके पास वाले frustrate हो जाएंगे, right? My Guru Maharaj is saying, we have heard in India. India में तो कई बार पत्नी कह देती है, अब तो भगवान इनको बुला ले तो अच्छा है. बेचारे इतना परेशान हो रहे हैं, तो भगवान इनको बुला ले तो थोड़ा ठीक है, right? So that is going to be the reality. So somehow or other, the whole purpose is to connect with the Supreme. We're not saying we should not do whatever we do, but every activity has to be dovetailed to serve Krishna, to connect with Krishna. Nacho gao bhakt sange. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, nacho, gao, sing, dance, anand, honor prasadam, do everything, but connect with Krishna. That is the whole point. Right? So, Vidurji asks, how is Lord Krishna and Balaram? They appeared on this earth to get rid of all the sinful people on the request of Brahma. Vidurji, now Uddhav hasn't answered as yet, by the way. So these are the series of questions. I just want to get your attention to in what order he's asking, in how he is asking, how he's recalling the whole events. And so this chapter is just those series of questions. So he asked him, how is Lord Krishna and Balaram? Then he asked, how is Vasudev? So he asked about Lord, now he's asking about Lord's father. How is Vasudev doing? He's like father to his sisters, right? And he very nicely takes care of his wives. Nothing wrong in taking care of your wives and your family. Nothing wrong. But center being Krishna. Yeah. So he said, how is Vasudev doing? Then next question he asked about, how is Ugrasen? Who is Ugrasen? King of Mathura, Kans's father, right? So there are two, Shursen and Ugrasen. Shursen is Bhagwan Krishna's Dada, right? Because Vasudev is son of Shursen, so wo Bhagwan ke Dada. And Ugrasen, Nana. Yes, that's right. So he asked about how is Ugrasen doing. He had almost lost the hope to become the king again. But Lord Krishna reinstated him. You know how Kans, put him in jail or anything, whatever he did. But then Lord Krishna reinstated him. How is he doing? Then he asked about how is Pradyumna. Asked about Lord, asked about Lord's father, asked about Lord's Nana. Now he's asking about Pradyumna. Who is Pradyumna? Son of Krishna. And whose mother? Rukmani. Yes, yeah. So Mother Rukmani. So he says, and then in the question he's saying, how is Pradyumna? You know, Pradyumna in his previous life, he's Kamdev. Because Lord Shiva burnt him. Yes? Yeah. So he's asking, how is Pradyumna doing? Because Mother Rukmani, she performed so much austerity, and by the blessings of the Brahmanas, she got him as her son, as her son. So Krishna being the father, right? So she got him as her son by performing austerity and by the blessing of Brahmanas. See, how is he doing? Then he says, how is Aniruddha? He is the plenary portion. Yes, Prabhuji? Aniruddha, yes. Yes, yeah. So how is he doing? Yeah. You know who was Aniruddha in his previous life? He was Kartikeya. Kartikeya, previous life. Who's Kartikeya? So in these questions, he's asking the question and he's also adding this. How is Aniruddha doing? Right? And then he asks about how is Devaki doing? Is she keeping well? She was kept in the prison for such a long time. She was so merciful. She was so kind. Even after going through all those austerities, how's Mother Devaki doing? Then he asks about how is Yuyudhan or Satyaki doing? Who was Satyaki?
The head of the army.
Head of army, yes. Anyone else?
Satyavama's brother. No. Relative. Satyaki is the head of the army.
He was head of the army, but he was the charioteer.
Yes.
Charioteer of Krishna. Yes. When Lord Krishna went as a Shanti Dut, Satyaki was with Lord Krishna. His name is not mentioned as one of the people who were blinded when Lord Krishna showed his Virat roop. Right? You know, Duryodhan said, "Usko pakad lo, isko bandh lo." And there is a very nice, poem by one of the poets. He says, "Ha ha Duryodhan bandh mujhe, tu mujhe bandhne aaya hai, janjeer mein hai kya laya hai, a Duryodhan bandh mujhe." One poet he has described that mood, that feeling, that you want to tie me. So Damodar is starting from Monday. You want to tie Lord Krishna. You want to tie, Bhagavan Krishna in your love. So Satyaki was there, and Satyaki was very upset when Duryodhana ordered, "Arrest him." And then, as part of the deal, it is so intriguing, the situation. Lord Krishna told them that I will not fight, but I will give you my army. Satyaki refused. But Kritvarma went other side. He fought from Kaurava side. And Satyaki fought from Pandava side. So he is fighting with his own kinsmen. And after the war, Kritvarma was only few people survived. Okay. Ashwathama survived, and then Kritvarma was also one of them. And they say after the war, when Kritvarma came back to Dwaraka, then there was constant taunting going on between them, that you fought from their side, you survived. But that's all part of what happened. So he asked, "How is Satyaki doing?" He asked about it. Then like this, then finally he asked, "How is Kunti doing?" Because Kunti, he said, she almost died. She only lived to take care of her fatherless children. And I really feel for her that she went through so many troubles. And I've already said, when Mother Kunti brought the children back, not only they were torturing the children, even Mother Kunti, they were saying, "Ito Vyabhicharani hai. She's characterless. They are not Pandu's children. They are someone else's children." Those kind of taunts were, spoken against Mother Kunti. But then Vyasdev came, Bhish Pitama came. Vyasdev was in the forest, so Vyasdev knew about all this. How those, they are the children of Dharam and Vayu and Indra, right? All those demigods, and that's when they accepted. So Vidurji asked, "How is Kunti doing?" She was very close to Vasudev. Right? She was Vasudev's sister, right? She was called Kunti Bhoj because the father gave her to a friend who did not have children. So he asked about this. Now, after asking this, then finally he says, "I feel pity for Dhritarashtra. I feel pity for Dhritarashtra because he was not just blind by the grossly eyes, he was also, his intelligence was also blind. And I don't feel any envy against him, even though I was so mistreated by his children in front of him, but I feel pity for him. Because he knew that he survived. He had already found out. So he said, I feel pity for him, that how he is going to live his rest of his life. So out of compassion, out of care, with that mood he was saying. Not out of anger or envy. There are two moods. I was listening and they're saying there are two moods. When we are in the angry mood with someone, then we don't forget the bad things they have done to us. But when we get into a forgiving mood, in a compassion mood, then we just say, "Oh, he's just, oh, forget it. His intelligence is not grown. Or then we take a different. So like that, Vidurji was saying, I feel pity for him. And then finally, after speaking all this, then he comes to the Supreme Lord. He starts talking about Krishna again, and which is today's verse. He says that Supreme Lord, his activities are so bewildering. I have gone around the whole earth. Yeah. Let me share that verse again with you so that we can relate to that. Yeah? Now, please recite this verse. Soham harirmartya vidambanena Drisho nrinam chalayato vidhatu Nanopalaksha padavim prasada Charami pasyan gatvismayotra I am not astonished at this, having traveled over the world without being seen by others. Yeah, another thing in one of the previous verses that Shukdev Goswami tell Parikshit Maharaj, very important. I shared today in the chanting group if you read it. But very important point highlighted by Shukdev Goswami is that when Vidurji went on a pilgrimage, he was sleeping on the floor and he was avadhut vesh. He did not care about what kind of clothes he was wearing, right? Alakshita. People could not recognize him. And what we do first thing is Facebook Live. We go in a temple, the first thing is Facebook Live. I'm here. And how we present to others, you know, some people have got around that also. They say, Prabhu ji, मैं तो दर्शन कर रहा हूँ, आप भी कर लो. मैं भी देख रहा हूँ, you can also see. You can also see Vraj. You can also do Govardhan Parikrama on Facebook. When I'm being like, no, very important. This is not a show. In the 12th canto, when Shukdev Goswami is describing how Kali Yuga will come. So one thing that he's saying is, Yasho Arthe Dharma Sevanam. People will serve Dharma for yash, for publicity, for advertisement. This is already foretold in the 12th canto. And that's exactly what is happening, right? Facebook Live, this live, that. I mean, some of the things, let's be respectful, some are genuine, but in some cases you see, I mean, everything people just put it on. You doing like any bhoga offering, any this, just picture on the Facebook, and then expectation, how many views, who has seen, who has liked, who has not liked, right? Then all those, so whole day we are busy checking, oh 20 लोगों ने आज like कर लिया, 25 लोगों ने like किया, और then the main thing is किसने like नहीं किया. I liked his, he hasn't liked me, isn't it? And then we get into that cycle of, but is it serving any purpose? Ask those 85-year-olds, ask those people who are waiting for the end to come. Always keep that in mind. What purpose? What have I done? Yeah. So Vidurji now sort of concludes. He says, that's fine. You know, I'm not astonished, having traveled over the world without being seen by others. The activities of the personality of Godhead, which are like those of a man in this mortal world, are bewildering to others. Yeah. Lord Krishna says, Mood, they are Moodha. Manushim tanum ashritam. When I take this human form, people mood. Right? They make fun of me when I take this human form. But Vidurji is confirmed that. But I know of his greatness by his mercy, and thus I'm happy in all respects. Okay? So that is the mood of Vidurji. And then after speaking like this, then he asks again that what is the reason that the Supreme Lord has come and taken this human form? And he gives two reasons. One is to finish the miscreants. And he says that the Lord Krishna was very kind on Kauravas. He did not kill them. They were already performing sinful activities. But then he waited. In the Prabhupada says, Krishna wanted to do wholesale activity. He waited for all of them to assemble on the battlefield and just kill them. He did not choose to kill them one by one. He get all of them and then they were killed. And then the second reason he says the Supreme Lord is so merciful, right? He wants to give himself to everyone. No matter if you are sinful or if you are good or bad, whatever mood you are, he comes to give himself to everyone. That is another reason that he has appeared. So two things. Yeah. To kill the upstarts or to teach them a lesson, but at the same time, he is equal. Samoham sarva bhuteshu. Na dvesho asti na priya. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita very clearly, Samoham sarva bhuteshu. I am equal to all the living entities. Na dvesho sati na me priya. I don't envy with anyone, and nobody is like special for me. Even though there are people special for me who are surrendered to him, right? But he doesn't favor them as such. It's just the circumstances become like that. They will perform their activities and they get rewarded automatically. He doesn't have to go out of his way, right? But ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mai te teshu chapiya. Right? But if you bhajanti mam bhaktya, right? But if you agar tum meri bhakti bhajan bhakti purvak mere bhajan karoge to. Now what is bhakti? That is a different topic. We can discuss that, but very nicely Rup Goswami has said anukulena Krishna. Right? Whatever bhakti you are doing, it has to be anukul to Krishna. Now you all have come to attend the program. You did not say, okay, Prabhu, I'm running late. Maybe we start the program at 7, or can you start the program early? Right? You have come as per Krishna's arrangement. So that's as simple as anukulen and Krishna. Right? Whatever is anukul to Krishna, not to your personal convenience, as per Krishna's convenience. As simple as that. Anything and everything that you are doing. So that is related to Krishna. So that's what Vidurji is saying, that he is not envious or he is not special favor to anyone, right? And he comes for the two reasons. And finally he says, oh my dear friend, let's talk about the Supreme Lord. Let's discuss his pastimes, right? And he concludes this chapter saying, there's a very nice verse. So let's recite that together and then we will conclude. So that's the last verse. Please do. Tasya prapanna khil lokapana Tasya prapanna khil lokapana avasthitana anushasane swe avasthitana anushasane swe arthaya jata sayadosh ajasya arthaya jata sayadosh ajasya vartam sakhe kirtaye tirtha kirte vartam sakhe kirtaye tirtha kirte Let's read the translation and then we'll conclude. Oh my friend, please repeat. Oh my friend, please therefore chant the glories of the Lord, who is meant to be glorified in the places of pilgrimage. He is unborn, and yet he appears by his causeless mercy upon the surrendered rulers of all parts of the universe, only for their interest did he appear in the family of his unalloyed devotees, the Yadus. So he will only appear the surrendered people who are totally surrendered. When our temple was being opened in Chennai, His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj was there. We had Maharaj here at he came to ashram during the COVID time. So after the deities were installed, then Maharaj made a statement, said, these deities will only stay here, or let's hope they will stay here all the time. Something like that. When Maharaj said that, stay here all the time, then people were questioning, what do you mean by that, Maharaj? They stay here all the time. Then Maharaj said, yes, they will stay here all the time if you are nicely worshipping them, if you are nicely serving them. Otherwise, it will just be a vigraha. So that is the point here. Vidurji is saying, he appeared in the family of his unalloyed devotees, the Yadus. Even though he is there, he is in everything. But you understand, he will manifest in your heart, or he will appear there. Right? Depending on our mood of surrender, our mood of service. Yeah? So with that, we conclude chapter 1, Prabhuji Mataji, of 3rd canto. In this chapter, like I said, Vidurji and Uddhavji have met now, and Vidurji has asked so many questions from Uddhavji, and Shukdev Goswami's question was, where did they meet? So where did they meet? Uddhavji and Vidurji, where did they meet?
Banks of Saraswati.
Banks of
Saraswati.
Yamuna. Who is saying Yamuna and who is saying Saraswati? Raise your hands.
Yamuna.
Who is saying Yamuna?
Yamuna.
Yamuna? Yes. Yeah. Mataji wins. Yes, Ruby. Yeah. So you see. So yeah. I mean, you can take your notes. You know, if you watch a movie of Amitabh Bachchan 20 years ago, I ask you what was the dialogue. You know, you will remember that dialogue. That's what you would have said. You know, that's what I said last time. Tivrena Bhakti Yogana. That is the intensity. With what intensity you watch, you will remember that. All this process is to develop that intensity to love Supreme Lord. When we look at him, we look at the Supreme Lord. Look at very closely. Look at his flute. Look at his eyes. Look at his, nose. Look at his dress today. That is the mood. Yeah. So we'll stop now. Okay. Granthra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande. Srila Guru